is going on, everybody? It is Tuesday night, time to talk some football. I'm your boy, SAJ. I'm coming to you from one that I used before, but it's a personal favorite of mine. I'm coming to you live from the Sombrero Rosa Studios on Walsham Road.
Very nice, very nice. What's up, everybody? I am BD, and today I'm coming at you from this one. Another one was a favorite of mine. It was kind of heartbreaking when I found out they closed, but Mr. and Mrs. G's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Completely forgot about that place,
Oh,
man.
on WW Oh, it was such good food. That one broke my heart when I found out they closed. So
Now, I got to ask you, Brian, it was labeled as a soul food restaurant. Did it seem like anything different than you ever ate growing up?
not really. I mean, it was kind of just a soul like home cooking place. I mean, it had
Yeah.
what chicken fried steak. It had fried fish, fried chicken, just all the delicious stuff. So,
It had all the everything goodness that you
oh
needed
yeah, it was
from a
fantastic.
restaurant.
I loved going there. Anytime we had an inspection or something that was in that area, I'd always stop by. And man,
The only thing they had that I didn't have growing up was the overly sugary saturated Kool-Aid. We grew up kind of poor, so sugar was a commodity that we had to skimp on.
yeah.
So yeah, we didn't get that luxury.
Wait, Kool Aid's not supposed to be bitter? What?
I know, dude. I don't understand it. But anyway, so yeah, again, we've got so much to talk about tonight. I'm in the process of trying to share this to our different pages and stuff like that. Want to give a shout out, obviously, to our friend XFL Mike G with the AFN Network. Was he was an absolute godsend this weekend, getting tickets for the game. It was very interesting. Um, Definitely, shout out to all of our friends over Pro Arena Talk for all the arena football information they've given us this week. That we're going to be talking about tonight with that, and of course our friends over at the Fuel Network. We got to give them a shout out also, but mainly because one of them was giving me a hard time because I did a video with an AFN shirt on. So, I don't want them to feel left out. Um, yeah, Mike, we know we're not on Twitter. We don't know the workaround yet. I know there's a way to do it, but we're just not. We haven't had a chance to figure it out and really get all that settled down. So if you know a way,
Yeah.
let's talk after the show and let's get that figured out.
Yeah, Twitter started a thing just like I think last week. You have to have one of the fancy paid blue check marks next to your handle in order to be able to live stream through one of these. So unless we figure a workaround, so you know,
Yeah, and I refuse to pay for any of that stuff. So
yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be super cheap, but I'm being super cheap. Okay.
so
So, anyways,
you're being super principled. That's what it is. It's the principle
I,
of the matter.
I'm being super cheap, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Anyways, so let's kick off the top of the show. We probably need to talk about that Gunslingers finale.
Yeah, we
Did you
might
get
as
a chance,
well. I mean,
did you get a chance to watch any of the game?
I did not watch the game. I kind of just watched some highlights and kind of reviewed some stuff. Obviously, you know, wasn't the end of the season we wanted. Just you kind of always want to end on a high note. We get your last, even if you're out of the playoffs, get a victory your last game of the season, and just being extra petty, we wanted to keep Arizona out of the playoffs. Neither one of those happened.
None of
But
those things happened at all. And so I got to watch the game. It was a very unfortunate ending. I will say though, anybody that's been following the Gunslingers, there's already been some coaching changes. A couple of people have left the squad. Coach Menace is still there. We don't know about the status of any of the players. I believe Castronova is still in the argument for MVP. However, Saturday, I I don't know. I think Saturday is going to hurt him, to be honest. I think that game's going to hurt him a little bit because he was a little bit off. I mean, 34 points total,
yeah,
and there were some throws that were missed that were definitely the receiver's fault. But then again, there were some of them that were Castronova. Castronova was not leading his receivers the way he normally does, and he puts it like just right at about the hands, and this time it was just a bit away. I mean, it was most of the catches were lunging dives and things like that. There was a couple that were on the target. I don't want to make it sound like he was just completely off, but there were some throws that he missed that it really surprised me that he missed because he doesn't normally miss those. Right? Those are his. That's his bread and butter right there, and he missed a couple of them. And I can't say it was necessarily because of the defense. You know, um, but it was a good game. It was a good battle back and forth. You know, San Antonio. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Gunslingers took the lead early, and then Arizona came back and tied it up, and then they took the lead in the second, and then it pretty much was them for the rest of the game. Now, San Antonio did make a charge back and late in the third. I'm sorry, early in the third rather, uh, and tied up the game. But then after that, it was just Arizona all the way. So it was a heartbreaking end of the season. I do believe. What's up, Rig? Good to see you, my friend. In which I
Hey,
saw
Rick.
him. I saw him Saturday as well. Um, and you guys think Rig is tall? Rig's like what, 6'2", 6'3"? He's got a picture standing next to the Colby Tucker and another player who's
Yeah,
almost as
and he
tall as
just
Colby
just
Tucker.
towers over Rig. That I saw that picture. That was hilarious.
It was
I wanted
absolutely.
to go back to kind of, you mentioned when you're saying it, Castanova's MVP. And you know what, just kind of on the surface, looking at kind of the highlights and stuff like that, I was kind of agreeing with you. Like, man, it'd be hard to give him the MVP after this game. Did he lose it? How do you give an MVP to a team that didn't make the playoffs? And then I went and kind of looked at his stats for the year. Um, 3,300 yards passing, which is 400 yards, more than the next guy. 75 passing touchdowns he threw for the season.
Okay.
The next highest is 66, so 9 more passing touchdowns than the next guy. Rushing touchdowns, he's got 23 rushing touchdowns. So Cashner was responsible for 98 touchdowns for this team for the season. There's nobody that comes close to that. So even though Gunslingers didn't make the playoffs and he had kind of a subpar game this last season, I don't know how you give it to anybody else other than him.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, we've not really followed that closely with how the IFL, kind of does on selecting the MVPs for the season. I'd like to believe that they're fair and balanced, but we've seen the NFL do crazy things before, and it's definitely debatable whether the NFL is actually fair and balanced when it comes to the MVP balloting. Um, so I guess we're just going to have to wait, just like everybody else, and see. But yeah, there's arguments that could be made easily that Castronova should be the MVP, hands
Yeah.
down, based on the season stats. But could this last game affect it or not? That's the
I,
question that
you
we're
know,
going to have to
I, I
wait and
don't
find
know.
out.
I mean, it may, but he's just so far ahead of everybody else. Yeah, definitely it was kind of a step back, but I just don't think just his body of work for the entire season. I don't know how they can't give it to him. Um, just
I mean, I know how they can not give it to him, but it doesn't mean anything. I mean,
yeah.
crazier things have happened. Um, here's a here's an interesting stat when we go to talk about Frisco. We'll get to that in a little bit. Um, I will also say a little bit of a do better moment for the uh, for the stadium that they played in. I don't want to mention the name because I don't want to necessarily get us in any kind of trouble or anything like that. But the staff there needs to learn how to talk to people a little bit better. Okay, no joke. We were there watching the game. We were standing because we were up on the second tier. We were standing in front of the railing. Security comes by and tells us, "Hey, you guys can't stand here and lean up against the rail. It's against the fire marshal's rules because you're in the, you're blocking the path." Now, keep in mind that walkway is big enough for Brian and I to walk shoulder to shoulder and not touch the railing or the seats. Okay, it's plenty of room. Plus, if there's an emergency situation, I would think that we'd probably be the first ones out. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Okay. But we got yelled at about that. And I'm like, okay, fine. We'll stand back from the railing. So we stood back from the railing. That same person came over and said something to us again. You guys can't stand here. Oh, wait a minute. We can't stand by the railing. Now we can't stand here. What are you trying to tell us? And they're like, well, it's expected that you would just sit down. And I'm like, wait a minute. Now, is that the fire marshal rule or is that your rule? Like, tell me what is going on and tell me what the issue here is. Is it a safety issue? Is it a blocking a public walkway issue? Like, what's the actual problem here? And they never could ever give me a clear answer. Now, the reason I bring that up is because they happen to mention the fire marshal in it. We happen to work with fire marshals, and don't quote stuff that I'm going to call you on,
Yeah.
okay? Because I 100% did, and I'm like, look, I'm gonna try and be nice to you. I'm gonna try and be decent because I understand you're an hourly employee, and I don't necessarily want to call you out, especially in front of your bosses or anything like that. But if you're going to quote something, you better be able to back it up because we happen to work with the fire marshal, and I know for a fact this is not a fire marshal rule. So, and I was like, if you want, I'll call the fire marshal myself right now,
Right.
and we'll find out about it.
Yeah, we both got a few of them on speed dial. So,
Yeah. So, needless to say, they brought a supervisor in who tried to say something to us, and I'm like, okay, look, I'll give you the railing because it's a safety issue. Because if somebody might be a little bit too inebriated, they might potentially fall over and get seriously hurt. I get that, and I'll give you that. We'll step back from the railing. But you can't tell us that we can't stand here in the public walkway, especially when you've got a coach, 40 feet away doing the same thing, leaning over the railing. Okay? Go say something to him. And they're like, oh, well, he's coaching. And I'm like, well, I paid my admission too, you know?
So when does coaching overstep fire marshal regulations according to them?
Right. 100%. 100%. So yeah, we had an interesting interaction with the staff there, and it turned out to be not so good. And so I'm hoping that they do better next season. So
You're just a troublemaker, Jay. That's all you are.
I am a bit of a troublemaker. I'm not going to lie. Like I like to stir things up. Anyways, overall, good performance by San Antonio. They were fighting. They were trying the best that they could. Just could not overcome that deficit. Once they got behind, they stayed behind. And, they did tie it up at one point, but they just could not bring it back. So it was pretty rough. Especially to see, some of the players that we know that are out there, like Colby Tucker, stuff like that. Sam Castronova, who arguably is in the discussion for trying to get the league MVP award, should be able to get it. But again, crazier things have happened, right? Now let's flip to the other side. Let's go to North Texas and Iowa Barnstormers at Frisco Fighters. This game I did not get to watch, so I apologize in advance. But it looks like Frisco got off to a very, very slow start. Okay. Oh, hey, what is up, Mr. Predator? Good to see you, man.
Hey, what's
You
up,
guys are
man?
making some moves up there in Houston, right? We're going to be talking about that in a little bit. In fact, while we're on the IFL, why don't you guys get prepared for this? Why don't you tell us about what your thoughts are on some of the moves that Houston has made in this last couple of days?
The last couple of hours, man, it was
really well.
mass cutting and mass signing today. But
yep,
we'll talk about that later. Back to IFL. Sorry,
we will.
I had a J moment. I was kind of diverting.
Yep. So Frisco started out extremely slow. Iowa went up 7-0 in the first quarter. Frisco came back with a field goal. Okay. And then they kicked the deuce, right? Which is nice. 5 points, which is really weird, right? I'm glad to see that somebody got the deuce because San Antonio. Oh, and by the way, shout out to San Antonio's kicker. He retired after Saturday's game, and he retired with like 192 points to his career. Like ridiculous stats, something like that. We'll get to that in a second. Just a phenomenal guy, right? Just real salt of the earth kind of guy. Very humble, very thankful, very grateful for all the support that he's received in San Antonio. But he retired with 192 points for the season. I think the highest. That said the highest amount of points scored by a kicker was the highest amount of field goals or deuces scored by a kicker this season was 11, right? He has like 26. So like just blowing the
Yeah.
competition out of the water, right? Um,
And
so
that's always been his strength. Even last year, in the NAL, man, he was kicking
mhm,
deuces left and right. That's which is
yeah,
that's an incredibly hard accomplishment because I mean we've seen those indoor nets. They're so not very wide. And you're kicking 50, 60 yards to get it into that, man. That's a hell of an accomplishment.
yeah, they are tiny. So, anyways, back to Frisco. So Frisco's down 7-5. Then Iowa goes up 14-5 in the end of the first quarter. Frisco comes back, scores a touchdown, forces Iowa to a field goal, right? And then Frisco comes back and scores a touchdown. And then they just kind of start taking off. And this thing is neck and neck for a little while. Uh, Going into the third quarter, Frisco is up 32-26. Uh, and looks like it's going to be a tight game. And Frisco scores a touchdown. Then nothing else happens in the third quarter. And then start of the fourth quarter, Iowa scores a touchdown. And then Frisco comes back 2 minutes later, scores a touchdown. And then it's pretty much off to the races after that. And Frisco winds up winning 59-47, which again, kind of weird for Frisco because they normally, they've been doing this kind of all season long. They have a very slow start and then wind up just dumping gas on the fire and taking off with it. But here's my question for you, Brian. With the way they've been playing, is their defense going to be strong enough to be able to keep them in these championship games? Or
You
is
know,
this slow starting nonsense going to wind up hurting them?
it may eventually. It's one of the they've been good enough in these games to be able to make their way. Slow start, but come back, get into the game, whatever. But they're in the playoffs now. They're playing the best of the best, and the first game they're playing is Massachusetts Pirates, who uh, they're a pretty solid team. Yeah, they were 8-8 when Frisco was 13-3, but the times that we played against them and just kind of in their games, they're a pretty solid squad. So they'll probably give Frisco a hell of a time. And if Frisco gets off to one of those slow starts, that might be, hey, they might be one and done in the playoffs, which would be shocking, consider how good Frisco's been all season. But, once again, this is the playoffs. You got to be on your best.
Mm-hmm. And here's what I find really interesting in the Eastern Conference: Green Bay and Frisco are tied. Well, they're not tied for first, but their overall record is 13-3. The only reason that Green Bay is ahead is because the conference games 13-3, right? Frisco 7-2. That has me a little concerned.
Well, that's
You
not
know,
right because not Green Bay didn't play all their conference games. So there's got to be something
well they've
that
got 19 games, so they're not counting non-conference games. Maybe somehow Green Bay had more conference games than Frisco did.
yeah, but I don't know.
Because we'll look back
No, they have
at
they have they have 16 games, and this thing is saying that all 16 games were conference games. So I think there's something funky with the.
oh, maybe the way they've got it stacked. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's
Yeah,
that's
there's
not
missing.
right. But
Well,
they have a better percentage.
then
But
yeah, Massachusetts and Quad City is off also, right? Because Massachusetts is 8-5 and Quad City is 8-8.
yeah,
So maybe there's a glitch in the stats or something. But anyways, regardless, that's gonna be an interesting game. If Frisco can make it into the into the finals against Green Bay, that should be a heck of a game. So here's what you got: you've got Quad City at Green Bay next week. You've got Massachusetts at Frisco, right? So you've got 1-4 versus 2-3. And on the flip side, you've got Arizona at Vegas, which should not have happened. The Arizona should have been eliminated. Thanks, San Antonio. Um, and then San Diego at Bay Area. Okay, so 1-4 versus 2-3 again. What do you see in Brian? What do you think is going to wind up being the outcome of those games?
man, I'm picking in the Eastern Division Conference, whatever they want to call it. I'm gonna pick Green Bay and Frisco. I'm gonna pick the two favorites in
Mm-hmm.
those. Um, And I'm going to say Vegas, and I'm going to say San Diego gets the win.
Mm-hmm. So we've actually watched the San Diego Strike Force play in a couple of games, right? They played Frisco and they played San Antonio, and there's a spark there. If they can figure out how to dial it in, I mean, they're going up against uh, who are they going up against? San Diego's going up against Bay
Bay
Area.
Area.
Now,
Yeah.
keep in mind, San Diego's 10-6. Bay Area is 13-3. Okay.
So that's not that much of a difference between the two
Mm-mm.
teams, you know.
No.
So, and
See, I very much see the Western Division as being, it's a fighters division. So if San Diego is strong enough, to put points up early and keep racking it up, I potentially see that being an upset.
yeah,
So I'm putting my money on San Diego, and I'm agreeing with all of your choices. So again, there's going to be some really good playoff football this weekend. You're definitely going to want to tune in and watch it. If I remember correctly, uh, didn't you say something about the IFL games being
so
free on?
where the broadcast, yeah. So
Yeah,
and it kind of annoys me a little bit. So obviously, all the IFL games have been on YouTube for all season long. All the playoff games are going to be on YouTube, except for the championship game. The championship game is going to be on CBS Sports, which is a paid streaming app. And it annoys me that you're going to have all of your games free to watch on YouTube for the entire season, except for the last one. Last one you got to pay for. So, kind of,
well, you knew something like that was going to happen, right? Uh, it's
and they did it last year too. And I think I complained about it last year too. You
yeah.
know, it's
Well,
kind of it's just one of those. It's just one of those things that annoys me with the way a lot of like the modern sports and the way their broadcasting is going. And hell, to kind of maybe segue into the AFL. That's where their championship game was on CBS Sports. And as much trouble and bull crap that the AFL has had to go through the season of their own causing, but you would think that game would be on YouTube or something where it was free. You can get as many eyes on it as possible as you could. But no,
mhm.
now you're putting it behind a paywall, and I don't know what the viewership for that game was, but I can't imagine it was super high, uh, especially like as dysfunctional as the AFL game as the AFL season was all year round. Hell, is even earlier in the week we didn't even know if the championship game was going to happen because of you know the arena not being paid or something, and just a whole bunch of stuff.
Yep.
So yeah,
Now, I will give them credit because as it turns out, I mean, they were able to find a shopping mall that they were able to play the game at. Um, and it
well, that
actually
was where
turned out
they were going to play there the entire time. That was where they announced it at, or I say the entire time. They announced it like about a month or so before that.
right,
Um, but you know,
but
but
it turned out pretty nice.
it was on YouTube TV. Once again, YouTube TV is behind a paywall. So it
Yep.
as much trouble as the league was having through the season, you would expect them, or you would think that they would do something to get as many eyes onto their product as possible. So
Yep. And again, from what we've heard, the game, we didn't watch it yet, but the game turned out pretty nice. The people that were there caught a pretty good game, but pretty
oh yeah, it was
good
it was a close
facilities.
game. Congrats to Billings for winning. And I mean it was a close game, so they got their money's worth. But
Yeah.
I wish more people would have been able to see it.
True, true. But it sounds like the people that were there in attendance were treated to pretty decent seats. I heard some of the areas even had couches, and I mean, who doesn't want to watch a game from a couch, right? Who wants stadium seating? So, anyways, yeah, that whole AFL thing, it's going to be interesting to keep eyes on it and see what happens with them over the next season, see what kind of moves are going to be made, especially with the NAL gaining some really good teams back. Um, and yeah, I'm I'm reserving my judgment until we see a kickoff next season. Let me just put it that way, right? Over to the NAL, no real news. We definitely are excited to get something, just because of the addition of some of these teams and everything, and things are looking good. I'm hopeful to hear something from West Texas where they wind up. If they wind up, I would love to see them back. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Now, uh, let's go ahead and talk about the UFL college draft, Brian. So I know I'm switching a little bit of gears on you here, um, but definitely we want to talk about the UFL college draft. First
No,
thing I want
you're
to
good. That was next in line. You're good.
it is, but I want to bring up. I'm not going to share it here, but I definitely want to talk about the choices that they made. Now, I've researched some of these players, not all of them, but there's one specifically that I know very well. And it's a name that if any of you guys are following college football, you're going to recognize. And I don't know why they waited until the 10th round to pick this cat. I'm surprised he was there in the 10th round. But in round 10, we picked wide receiver Joshua Cephas from UTSA. Also, if I remember correctly, he was a Steele graduate. Now, I'd have to check the high school. It's Steele or Judson. I can't remember which one it was. Um, but
Okay,
he's
I didn't
definitely a
realize
San
he was
Antonio
like
native.
that local. I knew obviously I knew, but I didn't know
Hmm.
he was San Antonio local.
Yeah, no, he's a San Antonio native kid. Um, is that me that's dragging, or is it you?
I don't know. I think we're good now though.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was you, just for a second. Or at least I hope it was you. I've already had enough internet troubles. I'm done with them. Um, but some of these cats, and you'll notice, like we BD actually mentioned it on our Facebook page. We talked about it last week, and I said focused heavy on defense, right? Apparently, somebody was listening to me because of the 10 choices. Oh crap! I just lost my mouse? Um, oh,
Oh,
that's
jeez.
okay. There it is. It's back. Um, of the 10 choices, 8 of them were no. I take it back.
No,
I'm
six,
sorry.
six of them. Six for
Six of them.
defense.
6 of them were defensive choices.
Yeah,
Okay. Um, wait, hang on. Oh yeah, there was an offensive tackle. It looked like a
yeah.
D. I'm sorry. Um, 6 of them are defensive choices. 4 of them offense. I
And
think that's
really,
pretty.
they did. I mean, a couple of those defensive choice, were cornerbacks, safety. So three of them were the secondary, and then the other three were on the line.
Hmm.
Um, so really, I saw the comment a few times around. Obviously the coaches are not under contract now, but it definitely looks like that Wade had a lot of input into this draft because this looks like a
Hmm.
very Wade Phillips draft.
Yeah.
So
Well, and it's hard for me to think that we selected all those defensive players and Coach Phillips doesn't have some kind of a plan for the offense, right?
yeah,
We still have, the actual UFL draft. Um, I've not heard any information about how many protected players you're going to have. Hey, I know that person. Um, anyways, um, we don't know how many players are going to be actually protected, but I have to believe it's going to be somewhere close to. And BD and I have talked about this before. I have to believe it's going to be somewhere close to the 40 that were protected last year. But who knows, right?
yeah,
Um, I'd like to think that they're going to actually streamline it a little bit and make less players available and make coaches work a little bit more. Uh, and not have like the Birmingham Stallion situation in which you bring back three-quarters of your team and win a third championship, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to take a knock against Birmingham or anything. That's if that's what helps you win championships, then that's what you do, right? Um, Plus, they had some incredible talent, right? Let's not take anything away from Birmingham. Um, but this is supposed to be a player, or this is supposed to be a developmental league, not just for the players, of course, but also for the referees and for the coaching staff and everybody else. Eliminate those abilities to stack a team from basically your same team last year and make these coaches actually work for it with the talent that they have out there. You know, now, do we want to go to NFL news, or do we
Well,
want to
I mean,
stick with UFL?
let's stick with the college draft. I'm really not concerned. I'm surprised that, and I said I mentioned this on the Facebook post. The Brahmas and the Roughnecks were the only two teams that did not draft a quarterback this entire draft. You know, and
Yeah.
that was shocking, especially obviously. I mean, sorry Rig, sorry Pred. Houston sucked last year, so
Oh, I think they know that.
oh yeah, yeah.
I
But
think they've said that.
I don't want to surprise you. I don't want to hurt your feelings or anything. But you weren't that good. Sorry, but I mean, quarterback was a big thing for them too. They had a lot of movement and different people behind center, just like us. Luckily, we had a defense to carry us pretty much the entire year. But I'm absolutely shocked that we didn't draft a quarterback at some point. And kind of goes back to Wade being obviously not on staff, but seemingly he's got a hand in this stuff. Like he's got to have something up his sleeve. Um, I don't think he would leave the offense to you know makeshift plug and play whatever kind of just finding a guy. So uh, I'm hoping he's got something planned to address the quarterback situation of this team.
Yeah. Um, and I agree with Mike. We're going to pick up a quarterback in the upcoming draft. I'm sure Houston is looking to do the same thing. Um, I'm trying to sign into our X page just so I can look up and see if there's any articles about all the movement. Um, Houston's done a lot in the last day, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so not that we necessarily want to see them become a powerhouse, but I mean let's talk about some of the moves that they've made and how that might
I mean,
potentially turn out for them.
just within the last couple hours, they released 16 players today, and then they signed 10 of them after that. Two of those players, Brahmas, know well was Ben Davis and Mike Scott, who while not on the team last year, they got released during the training camp. They were a couple fan favorites in the 23 season. Um, Obviously, Mike Scott, his brother Delonte is on the team, and it just was cool
Hmm.
having the brothers, together on the defense. Um, but hey, they're getting their shot with another team, so you know, good for them. Happy they're finding some place to move on.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the players that they cut, I'm a little surprised at Mark Thompson. He's probably one of the better players of that squad. So that was actually a pretty shocking release to me.
So let's open up some of these comments, right? Mr. Predator said, "Total revamp of the Houston Roughnecks, injury or off-field controversy, but that's the biggest eye opener. They went 1-9, so anything's going to be improvement unless it's 0-10, which could happen." Uh, Mark Thompson being a big deal.
Yeah.
But then XFL Mike G said that he hadn't been healthy in a couple of years. So that could be a contributing factor as to why he got cut. But he still was, it was a surprising move. Um, I think it's what, Predator said, that it is a revamp of the team, uh, making room for, some of the new players that they brought in and making room for the new players that they're going to be bringing in a couple of months.
Yeah, and obviously they've got to sign their draftees and stuff, so they've got to
Mm-hmm.
make room for these guys. Um, so, but it was just kind of it was like, well, bam, 16 players gone. About 15 minutes later, bam, 10 players signed.
Yep.
Holy crap! And I think I saw something. They were the first team to sign their draft pick, to
Mm-hmm.
sign a draft pick to a contract. So
They were.
they're making moves. They got a new GM. As far as the coach, we'll see. As of right now, he's
Still there.
well, obviously just same as Wade, not under contract, but you know, I guess we'll see.
Yeah. So we'll see how that pans out. Uh, I mean, it could only get better for him, right? Let's hope. But yeah, I was very surprised at some of the moves that Houston has made, and just you know, kind of a whole reset, if you will. Um, and so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how Houston fares. Especially, I mean, they're going back to TDECU this year, right? So they're going to have a better location that they're familiar with, more conducive to bringing out fans and fan support and everything. Because let's be honest, right? That that one side of the stadium was just a pressure cooker. It was just horrible.
Yeah.
Um, and no offense to Rice or anything like that, but that's, man, you don't play football in a place like that in the springtime. You just don't. It's horrible. So
And I don't know much about the layout of where they're headed back to, but I mean, God, I hope for the fans' sake, there's a lot more shaded areas.
yeah. So while we're still on the NFL, or I'm sorry, the UFL, we definitely want to talk about the Brahms event this Saturday at Alamo Beer. You want to give them the details, B?
Yeah, so it's kind of a postseason, just fan event at Alamo Brewery. Man, I forget what the time is starting at 6 o'clock, I believe. They'll have the XFL trophy there. You can go get your picture taken with it. Um, the I didn't hear anything about any players or anything that are going to be there. I think it's more just team staff and just kind of you know just a off season hangout. I know we've we've kind of missed a lot of the fans since the last game, and just a chance for all of us to get together and see each other again. So definitely go over to Alamo Beer, 6 o'clock. I'm gonna verify that. Yeah, 6 to 8 o'clock at Alamo Beer. Um, yeah, go hang out for a couple hours.
Yeah. Um, Everybody should be there. I know we're still trying to figure out if we can make it or not. But if you can, head out there. 100% be worth it to see all your friends that you've shared the ups and downs with this team with, and just relive some of those good memories. Start getting in the mood to look forward to next season's memories. Um, I believe some of the ticket reps might potentially be out there. Um, in fact, I'll have to look at the email. But
It
where the
just
heck
it
is the
says it
email?
says Brahma's reps will be out there, which I'm assuming are the ticket reps. So
Yeah.
uh,
Um, so definitely, if you have not bought your season tickets, uh, if you have not bought season tickets yet, come out, talk to the season ticket reps. Let's start talking deals, right? Because we want to make this next season absolutely as packed as possible. No, they're actually no. I almost said that there were going to be players there, but there weren't. So um,
Yeah,
it
I don't. I don't. I would not expect any players to be there. Um, if some show up, then that would be unexpected. So
yeah,
just go there expecting to see probably your season ticket reps and
us,
just a bunch of fans.
yeah,
So all your friends from the season. So
yeah. So it should be a good time. Be a lot of fun to relive memories and just kick it with your family. Um, Now, and season tickets, the renewals should be coming up for season ticket members probably in the next couple of weeks,
I
maybe the
know
next month
St.
or
Louis
so.
got theirs today, so I
Yeah.
imagine it's probably probably like I said within a week, 2 weeks, I would expect those to start coming out. So
Who cares about them? They're nothing. We're a way better fan base. We
oh
can
yeah,
do
oh
better.
definitely,
We
oh
need to
definitely.
we need to pack the dome. We need to show them what true fans are all about. Plain and simple. Okay. No offense to my St. Louis friends, but we can make more noise with half the people.
They've got the numbers. That's it. We've got the
Yep.
passion.
Yep.
So
So, speaking of passion, people following the NFL probably had some passionate emotions this week. Uh, there were some interesting retirements that I think we should probably talk about. Um, First and foremost, Kenyon Drake, after 10 seasons, I believe it was, uh,
yep.
has called it quits. Did he still have some football left in him? I think so. But I think he decided to pull a Barry Sanders move. And I respect that, honestly. I loved when not just being a Packers fan, right? But Barry Sanders is a player coming into the game on his own terms and walking out on his own terms. I respect that. Any player that knows when it's
Yeah.
time to hang up the cleats and does it, especially when they're still in relatively good health and can still play for a couple more years, rather than being greedy or busting up their body and being like an OJ Simpson situation. Um, I think that's good when a player can walk away on their own terms and be okay with it.
Yeah.
So
And
hats
I
off
don't
for
know how I I kind of looked at his stats and it didn't look like Drake played much this past season. I guess he was
him.
started with the Ravens and I don't know if he got traded to Green Bay or something, but he didn't really get
Drake
any
was
carries.
Drake
Uh,
was never on Green Bay.
his stats show that he played one game for y'all this past season.
I
So
certainly don't remember that.
maybe that's why he retired. He got to Green Bay. He's like, oh hell no, I got to get out of this league. But hey, I mean, it's something to be said. Like you said, Jay, leaving when you still you've still got something left, or you still got you don't have CTE, and you end up like Antonio Brown and stuff.
Oh God,
So
yeah.
I mean, hey, good for him, man. He's happy with his career. He wants to walk away. Fantastic. I mean, wish him the best. Uh,
8 seasons. Eight
yeah,
seasons
8 seasons.
he's played,
You know,
and he
and
did apparently.
a few of those years with the Dolphins, he was a hell of a player for them. Uh, so definitely, I mean, good career, and wish him the best in whatever's next for him. Now, kind of the surprise, or another surprise retirement that just happened, within the last hour or two was Michael Gallup. Um, Obviously, played with the Cowboys for his whole career. They for whatever they didn't bring him back. He decided to go to the Raiders, and then just assuming that he realized he signed with the Raiders and said, you know what, I just rather not play football than play for the Raiders. So
That's potentially an
that's
option.
my that's what I'm assuming happened. So but
Yeah.
I mean, he was 6 seasons he played with the Cowboys.
Mhm.
So, and I mean, he had a lot left. He was always one of those good go-to receivers. If you need a catch, you could throw it to him. He got kind of passed up by obviously CeeDee Lamb and some of the other players, the receivers. He got a little down on the depth chart, but it was still, and I think he was dealing with injuries a lot last year. or the year before. I don't remember, but when you needed a catch, he was always one of those players that he would give it to you. So, you
Well,
know,
yeah, looking back at his career, Brian, every season, even 2022, where he had a little bit of a dip, right? He was still averaging 10.9 yards per reception, which
hmm
is phenomenal for a receiver, right? His touchdown production went down a little bit. His overall his longest pass was not very long in 2022, but still, I mean, these are decent numbers, right? He played 14 games, 39 receptions on 74 targets, 424 yards. 23, 34 receptions on 57 targets and 418 yards. So
yeah,
production went down a little bit, but um, I mean, if you look at his average yards, he's about a 600 yard per season guy, 700 yards. It's not like he's putting up 1,000 yard season. He's only had one of those his
yeah.
entire career. Uh,
But he was always, you know, the the third guy. A couple times he kind of stepped into the two receiver role. So, having being a solid, 600 to 1,000 yards as a third guy is really, good for him. So, and that just goes to show like the kind of quality of receiver that he was. Yeah, he was never the top guy, but he was just as dangerous. And if someone got caught slipping on him, he'd make him pay.
yeah, so it's interesting to see him walk away, but I don't know. Maybe he just expected more from his career. Maybe uh, right here, Mike saying that he had at least three season-ending knee injuries, and he was injured when he joined the Raiders. So that could be it too. Maybe
Yeah,
it's one
I
of
know
those
he started off the season. I think it was last year with an injury, and it took him a couple. He was out for the first few games, but even once he came back after that, he was still solid. And maybe he woke up and his knee was hurting, and he was like, you know what, I just don't feel like doing this. So you know,
yeah,
same thing. Walk away when you can. If you're happy with your career, then hey, hats off to you.
yeah. I mean, when you know, right?
Yeah.
So speaking of which, though, I'm definitely interested to find out more about this Tyreek message to his agent. Why don't you
So
tell
it
us
was
about?
something. It was something I was just kind of doing a little, kind of looking at some stuff, and I came across this article that made me laugh. So right now Tyreek Hill, he's trying to get a new deal in, um, but his message to his agent, which Drew Rosenhaus is his agent, I think everybody knows who that is. But his message was, "Don't get me traded, bro."
Yeah,
Basically, he's like, you know what? I want a new deal. I want something that's fair. I don't want you to ask for anything that's so outlandish that's going to piss the team off and it's going to shit me out. So I want something that's fair for both teams. I don't want to make a stupid amount of money because that's going to hurt the team. So, like, I thought that was funny. You don't see that from a lot of these players. They all want to get what they can get. They've got a limited window. So give me what's mine. Give me what I deserve. This Tyreek's is like, look, give me something better, but don't ask for something so crazy that they're just going to ship me to another team.
yeah. Well, and looking back in the article, it looks like uh, that Hill had talked to Rosenhaus prior to him getting traded to Miami, and was like, "Hey, get me a better deal," and that wound up getting him in Miami. Um, and so he's saying this time, "Hey,
Yeah,
give me a little bit better deal, but it ain't got to be the best deal on the market, right? Like we don't want to leave Miami. We like it here. The family likes it here. We'd like to we put down roots here. We'd
yeah,
like to stay. So don't blow this for me." So don't expect like a huge contract extension or any kind of humongously crazy numbers for Tyreek Hill. He's gonna get a little bit of a bump. He'll get what's his, but it's not gonna break the bank or anything like that. And it should keep him in Miami
and
probably till the end of his career.
he's gonna need to start making a little bit more because he's got like 18 kids he's got to take care of now. So.
I mean, you're not wrong there. We could probably do a poll and see who has the most kids in the NFL right now. Um,
Dude,
it's getting a
he's
little wild.
reaching like Antonio Cromartie numbers. I mean,
Yeah,
hell, who Philip Rivers has like 12 of them, but it's all with his wife. I mean, Tyreek's
true.
just making babies with whoever he's walks across the street with. Apparently, I don't know.
I mean, you're probably not wrong there. So, I think the other big NFL news to talk about, and unfortunately, it's coming out of Green Bay. Um, Mr. Jordan Love has not practiced with the team. Now, that could be, a little bit of a holdout, a little bit of a flex, or it could be the, potentially veteran quarterback, trying to make sure that he's preserving himself to, make sure he starts the season healthy, uninjured, stuff like that.
Oh no, he's holding out because he wants a new contract.
It is, and
Yeah, don't try like, oh, he's trying to stay healthy for the. No, he wants a new contract. He's really trying to follow in Rodgers' footsteps. Has
unfortunately, you're
has
right.
one above average season, and he's like, all right, now you can pay me.
Yeah. Here's what I'm worried about. So I've opened up a Bleacher Report article, and the headline says Jordan Love to be highest paid quarterback, Packers contract expected this week. Um, I'm hopeful he gets a contract extension. I'm also hopeful he's not the highest paid quarterback because let's be honest, he's had one season, right? He had 3 seasons behind Rodgers. I almost said Favre. That would have been weird. Um, he's had 3 seasons behind Favre, and then played a couple of snaps in those seasons, but nothing like major or serious. Um, he had this one season, and he had a roller coaster of a season. He had some really great games, but he also had some really garbage games too. Um, if he goes out there expecting, based on his stats right now, that he deserves to be the best paid quarterback, yeah, I got another thing coming for you, man. I would take Martinez over Love right now if we're going to go for highest paid quarterback because again we've talked about it before. I think the kid's phenomenal. I think he's a really good quarterback. But don't you think it'd be a little bit too early to expect him to be the next Hall of Fame quarterback and pay him as
Oh
such
yeah,
when he's only been there 3 seasons? I mean, that's kind of ridiculous, right? So let's temper our expectations a little bit. Um, let's pay the man what he's worth at this point right now to make sure that we have money in the future to pay him once he's proven that he's that guy. You know,
yeah,
I hate to bring up
absolutely.
I hate to bring up a sore subject, but Dak Prescott has done that to the Cowboys for how many years now, right? Everybody keeps expecting him to be the guy to carry the Lone Star to the Lombardi Trophy and have them be friends again. And it hasn't happened yet, has it?
No, no,
And you
has
can't
not.
you can't tell me that um, in high pressure situations where it matters most that uh, your boy is worth the money he's being paid.
No, he ain't my boy, and no, he is not. He has not shown up in during winning time. So,
Right. So
but
why?
but I think that's kind of why the Cowboys are waiting right now to give him a new contract, which they should. He Dak has not earned a best most paid QB in the league deal yet. He ain't even close. Um,
No,
which kind of transitions that into like Jordan Love not practicing with the Packers. CeeDee Lamb, he's not going to report to training camp or practice with the Cowboys. He wants a new deal, which unlike Dak, CD actually deserves a new deal.
hmm
So I don't know when it's going to happen, uh, but obviously I expect Cowboys to pay CD. I think I haven't really heard much from Micah Parsons' camp. I know he was wanting a new deal. I haven't heard anything about him holding out, but hopefully both those players get paid. Get a guarantee that they're going to be with the team for the near future or the extended future, and then we'll play the season out and we'll see how Dak does. So
no.
you know,
I'm honestly surprised. We've talked about this before. Dallas has gone deep into the UFL player pool and
yeah,
pulled several people. two of which we know for a fact have been absolute gold mines, right? I'm really surprised that Dallas has not dipped into the quarterback pool from the UFL and tried to grab somebody to, maybe light a fire under Prescott or potentially be the heir apparent,
Yeah.
right?
Or so I
Is
mean,
there,
just a solid backup, really, because I don't think they didn't draft a quarterback, So I don't know.
nope.
It's been a really weird offseason for the Cowboys. I'm not sure what their plan is. Obviously, we've talked about the signing Zeke and what they did with the running back, which
Yeah,
actually,
I mean,
well, if you go look at some pictures for Zeke, I mean he's slimmed down this offseason. So maybe we had a couple seasons of fat Zeke. He's we got you know trimmed and buff Zeke now. So you know I don't know if it's going to
I'm,
be the Zeke we had 4 years ago or whatever. It's kind of hard to get that back because he's getting up there in age. I say as he's 15 years younger than me, whatever. But uh, you know we'll see. Like I said, it's been a really weird offseason for the Cowboys. I don't know what the hell they're doing. I'm not sure they know what the hell they're doing, but you know,
so irony at its finest. You tell me about this slim trim Zeke Elliott. I go to his X page, and the first thing I pull up is a video of him at a crawfish boil. I mean, come on, bro. Come on, right?
hey, you know what? It's really hard to get fat like just eating crawfish. So
I mean, you're not necessarily
it
wrong.
takes so much time to get them unwrapped and stuff. You've burned all the calories you've gained from eating the last one.
Let's go with that. Let's go with that. But yeah, so there's definitely some.
Bro, dude, crawfish boil sounds good, man.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong, sir.
I haven't had
Um,
some good crawfish in a long time. I need to go find
yeah,
me a place and go get some.
it's been a minute. I will do a shout out for Willie's. Willie's has some incredible crawfish. Market price is going to be a little bit up now, obviously,
Oh
because
yeah, we're out of season now, so
yeah. But it's been an interesting lead up into the preseason. The camps are getting ready to start. I believe, in fact, next week camp starts. Um,
well I know Cowboys camp starts tomorrow.
does it?
So, which kind of funny story. Um, my oldest son, he lives in California now. He was going up to I think Ventura is where they practice at, um, and he was spending a couple days up there, and he's like, man, the everything's busy because the Cowboys are practicing, they're holding their training camp there, and he's like, man, this place is packed. I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. He's like, you should try and go into the camp and go find Dak and tell him I said he sucks.
But ironic how this person popped in right when you said that. What's
Hey,
up,
what's up, Jackie?
Jackie?
Yeah,
I'm talking
yeah,
about your boy Prescott.
but yeah, I'm gonna see if my
Um,
son can go tell Dak he sucks at training camp.
nice. So speaking of training camps, apparently Packers training camp started yesterday. They've got 10 practices scheduled this month, right? 22nd, 23rd, 24th, then 26th and 28th and 30th and 31st. Yes, Jackie, 100%. That's why you tuned in, because your ears are burning. You knew we were talking about your boy. Um, but so I have to believe that Dallas is probably kind of along the same schedule, maybe not the exact same days, but they're probably going to squeeze in like 8 or 10 before the end of the month. And then for Green Bay, open practice starts on the first before Family Night, which is on August 3rd. And for those that don't know about Family Night, that's offense versus defense, but it's open to the public. It's a huge deal in Green Bay. They pack Lambeau Field almost as much as they do for a regular season game. It's just insane, right? Um, I mean, if any of you guys have been to Green Bay before, you've seen it. It's not a humongous town. It's a couple 100,000 people. There really isn't much to do there except drink and fight, and then go to the Packers games. and maybe do those two at the game also, and then some other stuff. But we're not going to talk about this. That's family show. Um, this is a big deal, right? When you have family night, like the place gets just absolutely packed, man. It is insane. Um, and I mean, you want to talk about a diehard fan base. I mean, these people are almost they're probably more dedicated than we are. I mean, let's be honest. Um, I don't know what that is. Oh, clouds. Okay, that makes sense. But again, it's one of those things where the people are just that passionate about it, right? I have to believe that the Cowboys faithful, if they were doing something like that, it'd probably get pretty packed in there, especially if it was a free event. Every fair weather Cowboy fan would be out there for it. Brian, I got to ask, right? Because we're getting ready to go into NFL season. Is this your year?
Oh, it's always our year. Definitely, it's our year.
Okay. Okay. And you're going to be okay when it's not?
Yeah, yeah,
I'm sorry.
definitely.
I had to take that dig. I had to take that dig. Because I know
No,
you're a realistic fan. What do you think about the predictions? Do you think uh, they're gonna turn out like the way the sportscasters are predicting the Cowboy
what
season to
did so
be?
what did I say? I think when they first released the win total odds, it was 10.5 wins for the Cowboys, and I took the over. And I still, I'm still picking the over for that. I believe the Cowboys will win 11 or 12 games. 17-game season. Um, and I think we have a pretty easy schedule with the divisions that we play. So yeah, I can see 11, 12 wins. Obviously, I don't. When it comes to playoffs for the Cowboys, I don't expect much. But you know,
Hands off on that one.
we'll see.
Yeah. So you'd be surprised to hear this, but a sports commentator from USA Today NFL is predicting that their Cowboys are going to go 8-9 this year.
Hmm.
So I don't
I
know.
don't
That's
see that.
smoking. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
So
if they only win 8 games,
did I?
I would definitely have to with Mike G here. So what the heck?
Yeah. It did. It did.
I don't know.
Yeah. The fire
Okay.
McCarthy,
Well,
and I agree with that. I agree with that. If McCarthy doesn't turn around a winning season and you guys deep into the playoffs, I would say McCarthy has to go. You
yeah.
know.
Oh, definitely. I
So
think I think it's he's had his chances. So
yeah. Um. So that same sports writer for Sports Illustrated is saying that Green Bay is going to regress to 8-9. I don't know that I see that happening. I see us at like 10-7, somewhere around in there. Um, I don't think we're going to get much higher than that. We'll probably wild card it if we even make the playoffs. Um, I don't see us at 8-9 though. There's no way. You know, with Detroit really kind of being the only potential threat in the NFC North. I know Chicago's got a new quarterback. Blah blah blah. Everybody's talking about it. Minnesota supposedly.
they're
No
still
offense to
Chicago
my
though. So
yeah, and same thing with Minnesota. They're still Minnesota, right? So really, it's Detroit. As long as Detroit doesn't
same with
backslide, that's going to be the biggest threat.
Minnesota.
Yeah,
So
Brian, did we
I
lose you?
how about the Lions? Do you think the Lions do the same things do as they did last year or what? You there?
I think so. I mean, they haven't really had that many.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. You're not. I've got great
Okay.
speeds, my friend. So, um, I don't think. I don't think Detroit is going to regress. I think that they pretty much kept the same team, maybe added and lost one or two, but I'm pretty sure that Detroit's not going to back off of what they had, the winning combination, and really one bad game in the playoffs that cost them everything. Um, so
Yeah.
I don't see them regressing. So I see them as really being our only threat in the NFC North. Now that's not to say anything because I mean, unfortunately the NFC North. Ooh, Jackie calling you out with your damn
Mm-mm.
basura connection de
Whatever.
basura. It's you. Anyways, I don't see the NFC North as the powerhouse that it used to be. So Detroit being as good as they were last year is completely possible. Does that mean that they're a potential threat? Still remains to be seen because we're not the NFC North from 10, 15 years ago. So I mean that's really the NFC West and a little bit the NFC South. I don't see you know Detroit being that big of a threat to the rest of the league. We'll just have to see what happens though. Anyways, Brian, I think we're a little bit over on time, and that's fine. We'll give your trash connection a rest,
Yeah.
and we'll give the fans a break.
Hey,
But anything else you want to close out
my
with before
connection is
we
fine. I don't
take
know
off
what
for
you're
the
talking
night?
about.
Oh, please.
No, that's it, man. That's it.
Okay. Well, folks, thank you again for watching. We appreciate each and every one of you. We did our shout outs early in the show, so just rewind, watch that part. Um, we'll catch you guys again next week. All right. Same bat time, same bat channel. That's for the old folks
Later,
like me
guys.
that remember all that. All right. We'll see you guys. See you this Saturday, hopefully. Be there at the Brahms event. Check Facebook, check our page. All the
All
information
right.
is there. You can like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can like us on X, and you can follow us, but you can't watch us right now because we're still working on a fix for that. But in the meantime, we'll catch you guys next week. Horns forward. Go Pack, go. Love you.